Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. Hello, friends. How are we? All right, so, full disclosure, and I said this on the last episode as well, I recorded a few podcasts yesterday, and none of them sat well with me. I don't know what it was. They were all over the place. My energy wasn't grounded. The topic was flighty. I didn't love it. So we're back here again. I am a little bit more relaxed, feeling way more grounded today. And we're going to talk about finding the balance. Okay, so this is going to be we're going to unpack it. It's going to be an episode. I'm going to try to break it down into little easier chunks of things, but let's first talk about what balance is. Okay, so balance is not equal. Okay, it is not this is equal to this being two separate things, right? That's not what balance is. Balance is, and some people have started to use the word harmony as opposed to balance, right? But balance to me looks different to balance to you, right? And in this term of balance, I mean like what works in alignment for you. That's what I mean by balance, right? When you're balanced, you're in alignment. Things are there, they're working for you. Now, your balance of work, life, children, personal time, those kinds of things is probably going to look very different than my balance. And it doesn't make either of them wrong. They are simply different. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. They are merely different. And that is probably, if you get nothing else from this episode, that's what I want you to get. Because someone else's balance is not wrong. It's just not for you. It doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it not for you. And this push of having to be right and wrong and defining things simply that way really closes us off to other perspectives. Because I know that when someone else's challenges my definition of something, that's when I actually learn the most. And I love when that happens, right? Some people will say, oh, I'm so triggered. I prefer to call it activated because it gives me an opportunity to view things differently, right? So in terms of this, it's finding what works for you, and balance is not required. It's for all areas of our lives. Okay, it's finding the balance in our time, in our money, in our relationships, in our giving and receiving, right? Whatever it is. The problem here is that sometimes when we're trying to find our balance, we swing from one extreme to the other, and that doesn't help. Right? Because yes, maybe it helps in the short term to like really set some boundaries. Like, let's say, for instance, you are a people pleaser. Okay, I am a recovering people pleaser, so I can speak firsthand about this. Okay, let's say that you are a people pleaser. And so you're way over here on the spectrum. You say yes to everybody, you overcommit, you never give to yourself, all of these other things, right? Then you decide that's exhausting, you can't do that. And so you swing to this other side of the pendulum where you are working on boundaries, but it's not boundaries, it's a brick wall. Right? So you've gone from one extreme to the other, where you have decided that you're no longer a people pleaser, but now you're all the way over here and you just cut everybody off from everything. that is also not beneficial. Now, in the beginning, when you're learning, this can help going to the other extreme, right? I've talked about this before where sometimes I'm like, okay, whatever you naturally normally do, do the opposite of that, right? That's sometimes have been my coaching, right? For myself. And so when you are coming from a people pleaser to brick walls, that can be really devastating to people around you. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, Steph, but that still puts me back into people pleasing mode. No, 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 no. It doesn't. Here, it's about really being honest with yourself. What is it that makes you a people pleaser? Because it's not the other people that makes you a people pleaser. And that was something that I had to learn. It is not other people asking me that makes me a people pleaser. It is not their fault that I am a people pleaser. It is me taking radical responsibility, saying, yes, I've overgiven. And so now I'm trying to find a happy medium. And I'll probably have some boundaries in place, but I don't want to have brick walls in place. And so when you're moving through this, coming out of people pleaser, some of us have a tendency to go all the way to the extreme. I was just talking with my neighbor about this the other day. It was about a month ago now. And we were talking about how he was as a parent, right? Or not how he was as a parent, how his dad parented him. And as he started to talk, I said, so you went to the other extreme? And he goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess I did. I said, okay. I said, so what's this happy medium here? And he said, well, I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'm gonna have to look at it, right? And again, I am not saying that you cannot go to those extremes. It is hanging out in the extremes that becomes the problem. That was the problem with the people pleasing in the first place, right? And so hanging out in the extremes is the thing that is out of balance. Balance is somewhere in the middle where you can love the fact that you were a people pleaser and found out that that didn't serve you. And then you can love the fact that you had all these brick walls up and found out that that didn't serve you. And so you came somewhere in the middle here and you put up some boundaries in place where you could still love people, but you did it in a way in which it didn't drain you. That is the balance in the middle, right? I'm going to use another example, okay? So, because maybe not everybody's a people pleaser, okay? So if you are somebody who overspends, right? You're on this extreme where you overspend, there is no money in your bank account. And so you flip over here to this extreme where you spend $0 and become a hoarder. Those are extremes. Somewhere in the middle, you can spend and save and invest and do all the things that you want to do in balance. And so while we may swing to these extremes from time to time, we ideally want to get back here into the middle where we can do the things. Because we don't want to limit ourselves. We want to continue to expand and grow. At least I do. Maybe not everybody does, but if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you want to continue to expand and grow. And so we've got to come back into the middle here, right? Same sort of thing if somebody is overweight, obesity, overweight, right? And then they go to this extreme where they're like, okay, I am cutting out all sugars. I'm working out 4 hours a day. I'm doing something, right? Like in the short term, we can do the extremes. In the long term, we've got to find this balance in the middle because these things are not sustainable in the long term. Imagine sprinting through life, right? At some point you're going to get tired, and that's what these extremes are, is they're sprints. They are sprinting from one thing to the next thing. Yes, I use a lot of running analogies. I am a runner, okay? So you're sprinting from one extreme to the other, and that is not sustainable. There is a reason that you sprint all out for 100 meters and you don't sprint all out for a marathon, because it's not sustainable in the long term. neither of these extremes are sustainable in the long term. And so you've got to come back in and find a balance, something in the middle that is not so extreme, but works for life, right? Again, these extremes are okay temporarily, but then you've got to learn and modify for yourself, right? And that couple of things that come to mind. I talked about this, or I tried to talk about it yesterday on a podcast that didn't actually get published. When I was changing my nutrition, I did the 21-day fix. That was a Beachbody program that came out years and years ago. I thought, hey, let me give this a try. And I followed it to a T for several weeks. And then I said, you know what? That's not sustainable for me long term because one, I like buffalo wings and I like margaritas on Saturday night with homemade french fries with my family, right? Like I like those things. And so to me, it was not sustainable long term. And so I had to come back from that extreme and find the balance. Okay. I also did this a couple of years ago when I was working with a naturopath. It was a inflammation regimen, diet, whatever you want to call it. And it was fairly extreme for about 3 months. There were foods that I was eliminating and then slowly adding back in. And I remember the week in which I had to take out cheese. And I said to my coach, listen, I'm going to take out the cheese just for this program, but this will not be something that I do long term because I love pizza. And she laughed at me and I said, no, I'm serious. I will do this in the short term to just as like a little detox thing. I said, but I am not giving up my pizza. I love pizza and I refuse to go my whole life without pizza. So I was in this extreme and I had to swing back into the middle, right, to find this balance for me, what worked for me. Okay. I'm in a pretty good place where I have found the balance for those things, but I've found them because I know what it's like to be at those extremes and to come back in. Again, the extremes are sprinting. They are not sustainable long term. They're just not. You can challenge me on it all you want. They are not sustainable long term. They are a sprint. I'm here for the marathon. I'm here for the long haul. And so what works for me for the long haul? Yes, there were foods that I actually cut out in these 2 programs that I was like, you know what? I don't even have a craving for that anymore. So I don't need to eat it anymore, right? One of those things is milk. I actually don't, it's very, very rare that I drink regular dairy milk. I have almond milk in my protein shakes, but it is very rare that I will have milk or ice cream. Now cheese, love cheese all day long, right? But milk and ice cream, they are not something that I gravitate towards. I don't anymore, right? And so that's part of, yes, you learn the lessons in the extreme, but then you can bring them with you into the middle. You don't have to be out here all the time. Now, if you're not watching the YouTube video, I'm doing a whole lot of hand gestures, so I apologize that you're not getting that on the podcast, but you can scoot over to the YouTube channel if you want to like and subscribe. That would be really awesome too. I do love that. And if you are new to my world, you're listening to me for the first time, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And I would love if you would connect with me on Instagram or like and subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel. I would be honored. So when it comes to these things, you're like, okay, great, Steph. I've identified that I am a people pleaser, or I have a brick wall up, or I need work on my nutrition, or I've gone too far on the other side of my nutrition, or money, or whatever it is, right? I want you, and I've said this before on previous episodes, yes, it is good to learn something new. The most important thing that you can do above all else is to be honest with yourself. What about this do you love? What about it do you hate? And really be honest with yourself. Not be honest, not like show up in a judgy fashion where you're like, well, everybody who's over here is totally wrong now. Right? Because that's not helpful to anybody. Or anybody who's over here is the worst person known imaginable, right? It is okay to be wrong, right? And I said earlier in the episode that it doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong. But I mean, it's okay to be wrong in the fact that it's okay for your perspective to be challenged. If you're never willing to be wrong, you'll never learn something new, and your life will continue down the same route in which it's going. Plain and simple. Your willingness to be quote unquote wrong is the thing that's actually going to change your life. Because it's not about being right. Not even when you're a parent. Right? Some arguments are not worth it. It's okay to walk away from time to time, right? Okay? So, really just want to encourage you. Be honest with yourself. If you feel like a people pleaser, okay. Creating awareness around this is the first step to doing that. But you've got to be honest with yourself. Spend some time with yourself. Stop doom scrolling. Stop avoiding. Stop all of the other things, distractions, right? We were just talking with our kids about this the other day. Right? Be honest with yourself about what you want. Because nobody's going to get it for you. You've got to do it yourself. And that's probably the funnest part of it all. So, I'm going to sign off here. I'm sending you so much love. If you are in either one of these extremes, this episode was not to beat you up. It was to bring awareness to these extremes. They are not sustainable long term. And I would really hate to see you burn yourself out in one of those extremes. There is a happy medium. There is balance there that can be found. And when you find your own definition of balance, it's beautiful. Life becomes way more fun and enjoyable. So, I'm sending you lots of love. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye.